Hey guys, and welcome to the next episode of the podcast Deep Talks. My today's guest is Mike Dee. Hi, Mike.
How are you?
I'm so excited to have you here and to discuss some of our crucial topics that we both cover, because you also focus on procrastination. Your focus is also about motivation and how to improve one's learning, how to learn smart, not hard. And I'm very excited to be here in Saigon in Asia. So you're originally from the UK, and tell me how you started, how you become a successful YouTuber with 1 million followers.
Yeah, so I mean, the journey started actually in 2013. So I'm originally from the UK. My mum is from Singapore. My dad's from the UK. We're brought up in the UK. And for my entire life, up until I was about 21, I struggled with procrastination. I really struggled. I had no direction. And I think a lot of people are in that situation. A lot of people can resonate with that. I had no motivation. My grades at school were not great. I got my high school grades back and I couldn't get into any universities because the grades were not great.
I guess no purpose in life.
Exactly. No purpose, no direction.
Yeah.
And so I started working at a supermarket, stacking shelves. And it's on the night shift from 9 p.m. until about 6 in the morning. And honestly, that at the time, that was my dream job. And it feels crazy saying that now. How can stacking shelves at a supermarket be a dream? But I was and still am an introvert. And so I loved it. When the supermarket would close and then I could just be by myself, kind of stacking shelves and lose kind of what's going on around me. And
like mindfulness meditation.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like deep work, but stacking shelves.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I was there for 2 years. Eventually I wasn't the fastest worker, and neither were my team. In the supermarket, they were going through a few scandals at the time. And there was a lot of pressure from the CEO down to the executives, down to the managers, and down to us. And so it was basically pulled into the office. The whole team basically asked, if you don't speed up, we're going to fire you. And so I thought, okay.
Lucky for you, right? Because now we are here.
Yeah, at the time it was like, oh no. But I bought a ticket to Bangkok. Just a one-way ticket, completely
one-way
out of
ticket.
character.
Wow.
A one-way ticket, completely.
I love those decisions.
Yeah, and looking back, I don't know what actually made me make that decision. But that one decision, the single best decision I've ever made, because it's kind of scary to think. I was so comfortable stacking shelves, and that's the problem. If you get too comfortable doing a job that maybe is not using your full potential, then you can very easily get stuck in that job. But I traveled to Southeast Asia. I met some incredibly successful people, some of them, particularly in Singapore, some of them with Ferraris, Lamborghinis. One of them had a $1.5 million Koenigsegg, and he was like, these guys are just normal people like me, but they've removed their self-limiting beliefs. Okay. And that was really the trigger, the kind of starting point to my personal development.
Okay,
journey.
We definitely dig more into this topic. But the first outcome of our conversation is to buy one-way tickets, because I did the same. When I moved to Dubai, I went to Dubai just for New Year's Eve. I thought that it's about 2-3 days, short vacation, and I stayed there for half a year. And it was during COVID, and in Europe, everywhere was locked down, and Dubai was kind of good. So it was also one-way ticket. So guys, if you want to change your life, buy one-way tickets.
It doesn't matter where.
Doesn't matter where.
Well, actually, a country that is completely different to your own country.
Yeah, right.
I feel like, if you're just going kind of next door, not that that's a bad thing, but I feel like it's kind of a culture shock. The more away from your own country. And I always say it's on my YouTube channel, the biggest personal development hack, if you like, especially if you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, save up money. Particularly if you're living in the West, save up money
and go.
Yeah, just go anywhere outside of your hometown, whether it's a different country, whether it's even a different town. Just go somewhere where you don't know anyone and you're out of your comfort zone, and you'll grow so fast. Yeah.
And the other main idea you mentioned was those limiting beliefs about yourself. So can you dig more into this topic and explain how to change this kind of mindset?
Yeah. So it's strange, because at the time I didn't realize that I had self-limiting beliefs. I didn't realize that
you don't know that you don't know.
Exactly. You don't know what you don't know. And so it was only until I started meeting people and I was like, oh, these guys think differently to me. These guys have bigger goals. These guys are actually working hard and working smart in order to achieve their goals, whereas I wasn't. Because like growing up, most people that I knew, they kind of had a 9 to 5. There was no one looking back in my life that I really thought had an extraordinary career, for example. Okay. So I didn't really have like an incredible role model. But when I went out meeting people, I really loved the quote, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with."
It was one of my favorite quotes.
One of my favorite quotes, because it's only when I kind of start networking, and I don't like the term networking, but start
meeting people that are better than you and you are growing. Or people particularly that are where you want to be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time. Okay.
I really like the 33% rule as well, where you have 33% of your network higher than you or where you want to be, 33% on the same level, and then 33% below you in inverted commas, where you can kind of help pull them up.
I'm just wondering if there is some scientific study or something to prove it, because I truly believe that. I'm trying to like surround myself with people that are more productive, sometimes more creative, sometimes with bigger companies, sometimes with some special skills that I want to learn too. And I think that this is the source of my growth, but I'm not sure if it's evidence-based. Do you know about any science?
That's a really good point. And no, I don't. We all say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but where's the science? We kind of know that it's true. Like I'm not...
Probably it is,
But I also think partnering up or working with people that have strengths in your weaknesses, right? So like, I'm not the most creative people. A lot of people think because I have a decent sized YouTube channel, I'm super creative. I'm really not. I'm very kind of left-brained, very kind of logical thinking. And so I partner up with people that are creative, and then they kind of fill in that gap. And then they help me with the creativity, and then I maybe help them with the strategy.
Yeah, that's exactly the structure of my company. I'm trying to hire people with same values, but with different skills.
Absolutely.
So then we can grow together much quicker than if you have everyone the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, like, so you moved to Bangkok, and you started to meet interesting people, but still, in my case, it was always about to find a new mission or new vision in my life. So what was the turning point? What was the first vision that you had in that time?
Yeah, so this was around 2015. So I was working on personal development for the last 2 years. And I was so motivated and so inspired. I mean, you can't imagine how much motivation, I was overflowing with motivation. So I was like, okay, how can I teach this, or how can I help other people on a big scale, not just kind of one-on-one? And so YouTube was one of the easiest ways to do that. So I started making YouTube videos, motivational YouTube videos. And it only took about 6 months, maybe 8 months for the YouTube channel to take off. But the first 6 to 8 months was a real grind. If I wasn't really passionate about my message, like it is very demoralizing.
Yeah, and you have no dopamine, right? Because you don't have the social feedback.
Exactly.
And that's the problem, because like if you're successful, you get the dopamine and you are motivated in the long term. But at the beginning, you lack dopamine because you share the video and you have 10 views. And how you survive this first half a year?
The reason why I survived, because I really genuinely wanted to help other people.
Okay.
Right? I wanted to kind of share my experiences. And that's what a lot of social media is. It's kind of sharing your experiences. Like, what have you learned? And then you kind of package that up in a nice, on YouTube, a nice 8-10 minute video, and then you share it. That was what got me through. If I didn't enjoy, if I wasn't super passionate about about the topic, then I would have probably burned out in a few months.
This is another thing that we have in common, because when I was writing my book, I spent 2 years writing. And 2 years writing is very challenging. Like, you know that in your life, I know that you are working on a new book. So writing is very challenging because you don't see any feedback during the process. So for example, if you have a keynote and you say a good joke, and the audience is laughing, you have the feedback, you have the dopamine. But if you are writing, no dopamine for 2 years, almost. It was highly challenging, but my motivation was the purpose too, like to help as many people as possible. So I was thinking, like, if I could accomplish this, if I finish the book, I can help a lot of people. So that was my motivation too. And I think that this is the only motivation that can at least or survive for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I'm curious, because when you're right, so when we're posting on social media, we get almost immediate feedback.
Right.
So I post a YouTube video, I know within a week, like whether that video worked or not.
Yeah.
With writing a book, it's completely different. Maybe you get feedback from an editor, maybe for some first writers, but generally you don't know whether it's going to work or not. Like, how do you deal with that? And how do you, because I'm in the process of writing my first book, and I don't have confidence in writing a book because it's my first book, right? So I know there's a lot of gaps in my knowledge, and I'm meeting a lot of authors, I'm meeting a lot of publishers, a lot of agents, and kind of picking their brain a little bit. So I kind of know that I'm going in the right direction, but there's still a doubt in the back of my mind thinking, what if I think that I have an amazing idea, and then in 2 years' time, when I go to publish it, it just falls flat.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that?
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
So in my case, like I delivered keynotes before I started to write. So first I had my clients, I do one-on-one coaching, and I took all those ideas and put them into the book. So I had those ideas before. So it's not like that I wrote a book and then I started to deliver keynotes based on the book. It was vice versa.
Okay.
So I already had some proof that my techniques and tools basically work in their or in my life and in lives of my colleagues and clients. So, but still to write is challenging because in my case, I think that I have a little ADHD, so I cannot focus for a longer period of time. And to write, you have to focus. You have to write and sit like 3 hours, 4 hours. And I found the best way how to write was in one small tea house. And they didn't have internet connection there, no Wi-Fi. In that time, I had no like unlimited data. So I was constantly out of data on my cell phone. So it helped me a lot to find a place for writing. And I enjoy the process because I used to draw a lot of mind maps around, and I love to draw mind maps. So I hate writing, but I love to draw mind maps. So for each chapter, I draw a huge mind map. And at the end, I had a mind map of the whole book and mind maps for all chapters. And to write the final text was easy with those mind maps because it gave me the structure.
Yeah.
So I was trying to hack my own ADHD by those visual tools around. So that's why my book has a lot of pictures because I think visually. Yeah. I cannot only write text. I need some pictures. I need some diagrams. I need some tools around.
And I think really that's the key where like everyone has to figure out what works for them, right? Yeah. So for me, I couldn't write in the same room. Like in this apartment, I couldn't write every day. I'm quite lucky I'm living in Vietnam. Within 5 minutes riding distance is about 30 or 40 coffee shops. So every single morning I'm at a different coffee shop and I get up at between 4 and 5 a.m. and I start work at before 6 a.m. So before Slack notifications are going off, before emails are going off, before people are calling me, I get 3 or 4 hours deep work right in the morning at the very beginning of the day. And it kind of matches my energy levels. I match my energy levels with the task, right? So my biological prime time is in the morning from, like I'm a morning person, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's when I'm super focused. And you put all of that together. And I think I'm on day 22 I'm doing write a book in 30-day challenge. I'm on day 22. And so far, so good. I mean, I've got 8 days left, but so far, so good. And that's how I'm kind of staying on track.
So you should have like 60, 70% done?
Well, I'm staying consistent, but so I'm doing 1,500 words a day. Oh, that was the goal.
Okay.
And then I ended up, just a few days ago, I ended up deleting like 20 or 30%. So I'm probably averaging maybe 800 words a day, which I'm happy with because
that's great.
Because the quality is there, right? If I was doing 1,500, I would sacrifice the quality and then there's no real point.
But I see a huge difference between writing a book 10 years ago and now, because with those new algorithms, like with TikTok algorithm and now with Instagram algorithm that is very similar to TikTok, it's much difficult to stay focused. I see the difference because like if you are publishing videos, you also use YouTube Shorts, right?
Yeah.
So you see the difference that before you had to like spend a lot of time recording a long format video and then you get the dopamine. Now you can have a dopamine after 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I think that people, they will have a problem to write a book in the future because the world is so instant, so quick, and so easy to swipe.
Yep.
And to write a book, you have to sit still.
Yep.
You cannot, there are no shortcuts. At the end of the day, you have to sit and write.
Yeah, and in Instagram Threads that was launched just a couple of weeks ago, that's because they encourage you to be posting 5, 6, 7 times a day. So LinkedIn is like once a day. YouTube is once a week. TikTok is multiple times a day. So it's like TikTok and Threads, the kind of the platforms that encourage you to be always on the platform. I think those are really damaging.
Yeah, and there are a lot of scientific studies that it's as addictive as the strongest drugs, like crack cocaine. Like TikTok algorithm is similar to crack cocaine in terms of how addictive it is. So basically, we are giving kids this strong drug, and I think that they will have a serious problem when they reach workspace, because you cannot swipe your teacher, you cannot swipe your boss.
And I felt that as well. I felt the addiction in terms of there was a point where, particularly during COVID, there was a time where I couldn't focus. Like my phone would just be sat next to my laptop. I now know to put the phone out of sight, but my phone was always on my laptop, and then every 5 or 10 minutes I would go on my phone and then unlock it and then see what messages, see what likes I got, because it's that dopamine hit. I was self-aware enough to an extent, at least, to notice that I was addicted. And now I think social media detoxes are ridiculously important, at least for me. Like just going through Saturday and Sunday with no technology.
Every week.
I don't do it every week. I wish I could, but I do it probably once a month.
Okay.
Which is, even that's quite challenging.
It's still good. It's a good start. Like you should start with small steps. So
absolutely.
This is a good advice for our listeners too. So to start to do like cold turkey for social media for one weekend in a month. It can work.
Is ridiculously helpful. Like really, really helpful.
So because like I love the term cheap dopamine. So you have constantly dopamine on TikTok or on other social medias. But if you write a book, it's very expensive dopamine. You spend many hours, maybe many months writing. And at the end, like you have maybe similar peak of dopamine. So, but it's a very expensive one. So how you can help yourself, or what are your techniques to fight with this cheap dopamine on daily basis? Because I think that if you want to stay focused, if you want to accomplish big things, you need to overcome this cheap dopamine pitfall.
Yeah, for sure. There's a few things. So social media detox really helps. Just something as simple as putting your phone behind your laptop, so it's not...
Or in a different room, right?
Or in a different room, exactly. Like the biggest thing for me is finding your biological prime time. Like finding the time when you... Because some people are night owls. Some people... And there's studies that kind of back this up, where like if you're a night owl but you're forcing yourself to work in the morning, it's not going to work. And so you shouldn't really. Like the idea with productivity is that it's streamlined, where it's effortless. Right? And so you want to find that, and then block out 3 or 4 hours, and treat that 3 or 4 hours like a doctor's appointment. Like protect it like a doctor's appointment. Don't let any meetings. So for me, it's in the morning. So my team know that they're probably not going to get responses from me in the morning, very early in the morning. So that's when I do my deep work, the most important tasks of the day that are going to move the needle more than anything else. And then more shallow tasks like meetings, things that don't involve so much intensity. I schedule them in the afternoon because that's when my energy levels drop. So it's essentially managing energy levels as opposed to managing your time. Right. And then in the evening, again, my energy levels increase, and I can go back into deep tasks.
Well, this is the most profound idea, because I think that procrastination is not a time management issue. It's more like emotional management and energy management issue. Because if you are forcing yourself, and when you are drained, you have no energy. Like your procrastination level goes up. But if you have focus, if you have time, if you slept well last night, then you can stay focused much longer. So it's not about time management issue. It's not like improving your system of to-do list. It's about to focus on your sleep, find the best part of the day that you are much more creative, and then stick with this habit, right?
And a lot of people just forget about the fundamentals of sleeping like 7 hours a night. Like going to the gym, getting exercise. Like a lot of people just forget about those basics, and it's like all your productivity is sat on those foundation, on those kind of building blocks.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those building blocks solid, then it's going to affect your whole day.
Yeah, I love some of new studies about sleep, that when you have poor sleep, then you procrastinate more the next day. What's even worse, you the next day procrastinate the bedtime. So they call it bedtime procrastination. So the more you procrastinate, the less you sleep, and the more you procrastinate the next day. So it's like the circle that reinforces itself.
Exactly.
So if you want to fix your procrastination, you should focus on sleep first, and to set like the exact time of going bed, and not to waste your time on social media after this time.
Yeah.
It's also very helpful.
Absolutely. And I think also, like we kind of discussed it a bit at the beginning, but your purpose, like finding a really powerful, strong purpose, because at the end of the day, your procrastination will decrease so much if you have a clear purpose, if you have, and that's really where streamlined productivity comes from. So like I went back to, so the first time I was like, I graduated from high school, I couldn't get into university. About 3 years later, I was finally accepted. And that time, because I had a clear purpose, I treated university like a full-time job basically. And I was studying smart. And I graduated at the top of my class because I had a clear purpose, because my self-limiting beliefs were kind of destroyed, and it was like, you know, I finally had that purpose to drive me through. Okay, so that makes such a difference.
What was the purpose of your studies? Because I was studying 2 universities. I was studying computer science, and then I was studying law. But I didn't see purpose in any.
That's funny, because I don't put value on the formal education system. I really put value in the informal education system of the informal education. So for me, the purpose was, I had a lot of motivation, but I didn't have a clear goal in terms of, okay, I need to achieve this by this by this. What university did was it gave me 3 years. So in the UK, a bachelor's degree is 3 years. So I was like, okay, I've got 3 years. I want to graduate with a first class, which is equivalent to a 4.0 GPA. And I want to graduate at the top of my class. That's what I do. So I was laser focused, and it wasn't necessarily for the grades. It wasn't to please my parents or kind of impress anyone or for my friends or whatever. It was for one reason. It was to prove to myself that I can do it. If I really put focus, if I put everything into one goal, and I've got an end goal, that's what the focus was.
But my experience with my clients is that sometimes it can backfire too, because when you reach the goal, then you are empty again.
Exactly.
And sometimes those people are setting even bigger goals. So, for example, they buy the car that they wanted for 5 years. They then buy the car and they are empty because now they experience what is called hedonic adaptation. So your dopamine goes up, and after a few hours, maybe a few days, you are at the baseline again. So you need bigger goal. And sometimes I call those people like goal junkies. They need bigger goals, but they experience only short peaks of dopamine when they reach the goal, and they are empty again. So how to find a way how to stay motivated in the long term and not be empty when you reach the goal.
Yeah, well, this is the problem that a lot of athletes have when they train so hard. They've got to focus to hit the Olympics, and then as soon as the Olympics are over, it's like, okay, where's your purpose?
I had a guest in my podcast here, and she won a gold medal in Winter Olympics. And she said that after she won the medal, it was the toughest period of her life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because what next?
Yeah, what next? Like the same way when at university, when I hit that goal, I thought that when I opened my grades, it would be like this euphoric moment where like people would come with trumpets and people would be singing. And then I remember it so clearly. I was actually on the train, I opened the email, and then I saw my grades and I saw where I'd come in the university, and I was like, oh, cool. Close the email. That was it. Like it was so kind of underwhelming. The same thing, I've got a plaque when I hit 1 million subscribers. So I've been on this goal for like 5 or 6 years. And then when I finally hit 1 million, and I was watching the count go from 999 to 1 million. And then once I hit it, I was like, cool. I closed the tab and just moved on with my life. And so I think like the most important thing here is enjoying the process.
Right.
It's not about, it's good to have a goal. It's good to have a clear direction, but it's more important to enjoy the process. And when you wake up in the morning, are you actually enjoying what you're doing every day?
Wow, lovely. Because this is the first part of my book, is about that the path is the destination. And I'm describing like 3 kinds of motivation. You have extrinsic motivation. That's the worst one, because you do things for others. Basically, you study because of your parents, or you are doing things because of the society around you. So basically, at the end, you are empty because those are not your goals. So then the second better type of motivation is intrinsic motivation, but by goals. This is much better because then you are doing those things for yourself. But when you reach the goal, you have the problem of hedonic adaptation. So the last and the highest or the best way how to motivate is truly focus on the path. Because if you enjoy the process and you do things that you enjoy doing, that you love to do, you see purpose, you see meaning, then you are much more often in a state of flow. And you have the dopamine in the long term. So you are not waiting for the goal, you enjoy the process. So this is, in my case, the source of my long-term motivation, because I truly love what I'm doing. I love these interviews. I love when I deliver my keynotes or when I do some consulting, but I don't have any big goals now. Like I don't have a goal to, I don't know, to coach 10,000 people or to deliver keynote for 5,000. No, I just want to focus on the path. And those goals are coming as a like outcome, as a secondary thing.
I love the breakdown, extrinsic, intrinsic, and then kind of enjoying the process, because it took me a while to, I only really kind of fully, truly understood this maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Because I'm the same. I still have goals, but they're not like super set that I have to really hit them. For me, it's more about the daily, about what I'm doing every day. Am I waking up and am I enjoying it? I think that the term success really needs to be defined. Like success in today's society is very much about like the status of your job and how much you're earning a year. But I really think it needs to be defined, especially here in Asia. Like when you wake up in the morning, are you happy? Do you enjoy going to work? Because at the end of the day, when you're going to work, that's like 30, 40, 50% of your life. Like at least 8 hours a day.
I think that this is beautifully described in one of my most favorite quotes. And it falls like this. It's from Albert Schweitzer, who got a Nobel Peace Prize in 1952. And he said something like this: success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. So basically, this is the definition of, and it's just the exact opposite what a lot of people have in their life. They are focusing on bigger goals. They think that if they have the best marks, or if they reach the higher corporate position, then they will be successful. But it's just the opposite. If you enjoy the process, you are already successful. And the thing that you finish the book and the thing that you earn more money, it's just the outcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a comedian, a famous comedian in the UK called Jimmy Carr. And he was being interviewed. And I remember, so the interviewer asked him, what is the meaning of life? And I loved his answer. He said 5 words: enjoying the passage of time. Just enjoying your life. Like I feel like that is so important, and we often forget about that. We're often focused on, okay, how much can we earn at the end of the year? But I think it's so beautifully simple as just being happy for as much as you can throughout your life.
And sometimes it's just be. Because people are unable to be in the present moment, right? So that's the problem of our prefrontal cortex. We are constantly thinking about the past, the future, but we are not now in the present moment. So that's why I love those activities that I have to be in the present moment. For example, interview, I have to be in present moment.
Absolutely.
Because I cannot think about, what should I buy for my dinner today? No.
It's funny because there's some cat hair on the floor, and like maybe my OCD just keeps focusing on that. So I'm trying my best.
I was recording one podcast, and there was fly going around the gas, and I was constantly looking to the fly, and it was completely crazy. It made me crazy because I was constantly like going around with my thoughts too. So how do you stay focused? What are your tips for being focused in the long term?
Being focused in the long term, I really like the idea of having I've got a timer just on my desk here. So I like having my laptop, because most of my work is on my laptop. And then I like having a timer there. And then you set it for maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't like using my phone because it's a distraction. I just don't like having my phone there. So I put my phone hidden away. And then I have a dedicated timer there. It just has one thing.
Like Pomodoro technique, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll show you.
You have a real Pomodoro?
Yeah. So I use it here. I put it up, and then I just set it next to my laptop. And then it's nice because it's always there ticking away. So it's not like it's like I subconsciously can see the time ticking away. Like, so I can't procrastinate. It makes me subconsciously work faster. It's kind of Parkinson's law in action, right? Where if you give yourself a day to do something, it'll take a day to do it. You give yourself 30 minutes to do it, it will take you 30 minutes. Yeah. And so it's super simple. It's like $8, $9 on Amazon, whatever. But really powerful.
And what are other hacks that you use? Explain me your daily routine, basically, from the beginning of the day till the end.
Okay, so as soon as I wake up, the idea is really to start the workday as soon as possible. I've played with a lot of morning routines where, like, when I was living in Amsterdam, I used to do yoga in the morning for 20 minutes. I used to do meditation, learning the language, like all of these things in the morning. But it's like, I've really got to protect my morning because that's when I'm the most productive. And so as soon as I wake up, I go shower, I leave the house with.
I know that you wake up now between 4 to 5.
4 or 5 a.m. Yeah. So if I wake up at 4, I should be at a coffee shop at 5. If I wake up at 5, I should be at a coffee shop at 6. Okay. And then starting working.
Do they think that you are crazy in that coffee shop?
This is what I love about Vietnam, right? So I made a story on my Instagram. It was about 20 past 4 in the morning, and it's a 24-hour coffee shop. I went to the coffee shop. It was almost full. It was almost a full coffee shop.
Wow.
And 20 past 4 in the morning. I think because it was full of students and they had exams the next day.
Oh, come on.
But what I love about, so probably not the best type of productivity. But what I love about Vietnam is that you have 24/7 coffee shops. Like I say, there's coffee shops everywhere. So I like waking up in the morning when basically everyone or most people are asleep and I'm not getting distracted. And then I do 4 hours, a 4-hour deep work chunk, right in the morning. So
do you drink coffee? Professor Huberman is explaining that you should not drink coffee first 2 hours. I think like 1 to 2 hours you should not drink caffeine because then your brain doesn't release adrenaline and substances that help you to stay focused.
Yeah.
So do you know about this routine? That you should not drink caffeine?
One of the biggest things in his routine is getting sunlight as soon as you wake up. And it's beautiful in Vietnam. Like I'm riding my bike in the sun as soon as I...
especially with these big windows.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a bit too much sun comes in. But yeah, I do drink coffee 5 to 6 days a week. And I have it at after about an hour and a half of waking up.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And that for me, like, is just the perfect routine in that I don't necessarily need the coffee for the energy boost or anything like that. But I love the coffee. I love coffee, and it's just a nice kind of bonus, keep you a little bit more focused.
Well, sometimes we do rationalization. So maybe like your brain thinks that it's just tasty, but you still need the substance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because my favorite study about procrastination is about people that procrastinate the most are very smart and creative, but they are smart and creative even with coming up with excuses in front of themselves.
That's a good point.
So maybe I'm not telling that this is your case, but sometimes I feel it in my life that I always am able to come up with so many very brilliant excuses why my bad behavior is good at the end.
I was thinking about this the other day. So I told you I'm doing a 30-day challenge, and I've stayed consistent for the last 20 days. I'm on 20-ish, 21 days. But then I cracked my laptop screen, and so I was like, okay, I don't want to write on a cracked laptop screen. Oh, I don't want to, because I have to take my laptop in for repair, and so I don't want to write on my iPad or my iPhone or something. And then I was thinking, is that an excuse? Like I could rent a laptop, or I could still do my writing. I didn't. I took 3 days off from the challenge, but it's just like you mentioned. Like, am I just making excuses, or was that a legitimate excuse? And then it begs the question: what is a legitimate excuse? Right. And then what is just a plain excuse? And I think one answer to that is it a detriment to your physical or mental health? I think that's one kind of very binary. Is it, especially in the long term?
Is it harming yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's super important when it comes to productivity, sustainable productivity, because I'm sure you know that the productivity space can be quite toxic in terms of kind of pushing people to be working 12, 13, 14 hours a day.
I love to have my system, but sometimes I truly want to crack the system and do crazy things.
Yeah.
Because I used to play in a punk band, and I always wished to myself to stay a little bit punk, to live outside of my comfort zone, do crazy things, be, let's say, sometimes intuitive, not have plans, but still I have my company of 30 people, and I cannot be a punk leader. I have to have a system. So I'm trying to combine this chaos and this order together, because if I'm too chaotic, I'm irresponsible. If I'm too systematic, I'm boring. So I need to combine those two things together. So how you combine those things? Well, because sometimes if you have your routines, isn't it boring sometimes?
Absolutely. So in the mornings, our routine, like I need that for productivity. And this is a problem when I travel. So I've just come back from the US and I didn't really have a routine, but I need my morning routine for productivity. In the afternoon and evening, okay, that's more...
you can improvise.
Exactly. Because sometimes I have meetings starting from 5 in the morning all the way up till 11 at night because I have calls in the US. Okay. But then other days I don't have any meetings at all. So I can't have like solid, rigid days.
Okay. So let me recap a little bit. So we both had a great experience buying one-way tickets.
That's number one advice. If you're stuck, buy a one-way ticket.
You use your Pomodoro technique to focus and to stay in the present moment.
Yep.
We both are trying to focus on purpose, like to help others rather than to achieve bigger goals. Like in terms of material things. I want to ask you about your YouTube channel, how to build a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers. Yeah, it's a huge success. Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. Because we've got two companies. The first one is the personal development business. And then the second one, I'm the CEO of PlayStack, and we basically help build YouTube channels for businesses. So I get this.
Then I can hire you, right?
Exactly. Okay. We get a lot of clients that are super, super busy and very left brain. So like, we've got quite a few clients that are like very good traders. They're on CNBC News, very high profile, but they're very, very logical thinking, and they're not very creative. And so that's where we kind of supplement them. Okay. Like what we said at the beginning of the podcast, where you should kind of pair yourself with people that kind of complement your weaknesses.
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember the question that you asked me.
Yeah. How to build a channel?
How to build a YouTube channel.
I can ask you something else, because you already answered, so it's okay.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is enjoy the topics that you're talking about, because believe me, coming from someone who's been making personal development YouTube videos every single week for 7 years, you have to love the topic that you're talking about. Right. If you don't love the topic that you're talking about, you're going to burn out pretty quickly.
Exactly, because for me, like sometimes I have a struggle to record videos, and I found my way how to record my videos, because I do a new podcast with my friend, and she's super funny. I truly like her, and we just sit and talk, and then we cut the video into small clips, and it works because she has a huge audience on TikTok, and together we have an amazing vibe together. And that's my routine. Like, I don't need to push myself to record a video. I'm looking forward to my friend. We just switch on the camera and we have a lot of content.
Yeah. Again, it's about enjoying the process, streamline productivity.
Exactly.
You shouldn't feel like you're, like every day you're kind of walking uphill. Like productivity should definitely be a streamlined process.
But how to recognize if this is the task that you need to push yourself to overcome those first problems, and then you reach the state of flow after, let's say, a few months, or when to quit?
That's the big question, because like a few years ago, my mindset was very much, don't quit, just keep going and going and going and going.
And you can go directly to the burnout.
Exactly. And if you see the videos in my channel like 4 or 5 years ago when I first started making it, it was all about, if you're feeling a little bit tired, just keep going, keep going. And it's not healthy, right? And I think quitting is almost an art form in terms of quitting strategically. Right. I think that it's important to, like, if something isn't working, and it's coming from a strategic perspective, and it's not just because, I can't be bothered anymore, or I kind of lost interest or something like that. I think quitting can be an amazing thing. Yeah, like quitting my job at a supermarket. It was the best decision I've ever made.
Sometimes to break up with toxic relationships is also the best thing to do. But no one can tell you when. Because in science they call this exploration-exploitation paradox. Because you never know when to explore more or to exploit what you already knew and to focus on details.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like with relationships, I know like any relationship online, you ask on Reddit, you ask on forums, like you get a lot of people asking, and then the first response and the main response is always, "Oh, give up, it's not worth it." Like that's always the response. Yeah. So I feel like it's only you that knows when it's time to give up or when it's time to keep pushing through.
Maybe even no one knows.
Maybe even no one knows.
Because sometimes you have to experience the thing that you were working on something like 2 years more and you still are not there and you are feeling like I should quit. And then it happens.
Exactly.
And sometimes you are working 10 years and nothing happens.
And you'll never know.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes it's a coincidence.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, you'll never know. Like I was working in a supermarket. Like after that, if I didn't quit, I could have got, leveled up, gone up the hierarchy, been an executive at some point. I don't know that, right?
For me, my personality is structured in the way that I can't do things that I don't enjoy. I can't push myself to do unpleasant activities. So that's why basically when I was writing, I come up with a structure around to help me to enjoy the process. If I do whatever I do, I'm always trying to do what is called job crafting. Like craft those tasks to make them more enjoyable for you. So for example, to ask where is meaning in there and focus on that. Asking where are your strengths and how you can use them on those activities, or what are those people that can help you around, or which is the best place to work on those things. Yeah. So basically, if you don't like the task, it's maybe not about the task. It's maybe because of people that you are working with.
So what are the big things that you did that allowed you to enjoy the writing process more? So you're using it, writing a lot of diagrams.
Yeah, visuals, diagrams, mind maps, definitely. Then my favorite coffee shop or tea house. Then I use a special editor for writing. It's called Writer. It has no icons around. It doesn't correct your grammar. It's just a typewriter on your computer, basically. It's truly like a meditative app for writing.
That's amazing.
Writer. I can link the app below the video. Then I had to book 3 days for writing, because I was writing Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. And on Friday, I was completely okay that I write nothing. Saturday, I was like, okay, now I should write something. And on Sundays, I was the most productive. So I booked 3 days, but I was completely happy to write only 1 day. Because writing a book about procrastination is twice painful when you procrastinate. So I had to come up with so many ideas around. And since the book was finished, so it's here, it seems that I know something about procrastination because I finished a book. And for me, this is like an evidence of my own tools. Because I was a huge procrastinator. And as you described, I was studying 2 universities. I had my first company, but it was not a product founder fit. I was working in IT. We were developing some games, and it was not my type of thing to do. But then I read my first self-help book, and I started to read those research on procrastination, and it switched. And I was like, okay, I should use those things on myself. And when it worked, I was like, now I should share it with as much people as possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we have very similar stories.
Yeah, we do. And I think it's also important to mention that I think I can speak for you as well. We still sometimes procrastinate.
Of course.
Like a lot of people think because I have a YouTube channel on how to not procrastinate, that I'm somehow some kind of productivity king.
Right.
And really I'm not. Like I do sometimes procrastinate, probably less than the average person. But the idea is not to never procrastinate. I think even some procrastination can be healthy in terms that it kind of gives you a break. The idea is not to never procrastinate.
Right. Procrastination is always waiting there. And you can have 10 days productive and 11th day, procrastination is there. So in my case, procrastination is always a signal that I should change something. So if there is a task that I procrastinate, I'm asking myself, why? What's the reason? So am I tired? Should I sleep more? Do I for example, do I work with people that I truly want to spend my time with? Or, for example, I was procrastinating like big contract because I was studying law. So I understand a little bit law, but for me, it's always difficult to sign like 10 pages of some legal documents because I understand it a little bit, but I'm not sure about my knowledge. So I was always procrastinating, like signing contracts. And I found a way that I should truly hire a better lawyer. So, and to delegate things that I procrastinate, because you don't need to do everything by yourself. So for example, for me, emails are toxic. I don't like emails because when I published the book, I've got like hundreds emails a day, and I replayed 100 and I've got like 110. I replayed 110, I've got like 120.
Yeah.
So it was truly toxic to me.
Absolutely.
And I thought that when I'm the productivity guy, I should be 100% responsible. But then I said to myself, like, emails are not my priorities. Emails are mostly priorities of other people. So I basically quit using email. I hired my personal assistant. She's handling all my emails for me. And I have 3 hours daily for my creative tasks. So sometimes to delegate things that you procrastinate is also very smart.
Tim Ferriss, he says exactly the same thing. He's not a fan of email. In fact, he doesn't use email at all for exactly the same reason. But yeah, I'm the same. I use a task list on my phone. I use Todoist, and I love having a widget there. So as soon as I unlock my phone, the task list is right there. So it's like, because there's no point having a task list hidden away that you're never going to see. But if it's on your home screen right there, as soon as you unlock it, it's a great kind of motivational tool. But if I have a task on my task list that's there for any longer than like 2 or 3 days, I have to ask, why is it there for so long? Like, it can be a priority, or I probably don't want to do it, in which case delegate it out, or just don't do it at all.
So there is a huge meta-analysis about procrastination, and it seems that the main source of procrastination is lack of self-regulation. So it's more about emotions and understanding your own emotions. So why you have this negative feeling about the task. And if you understand your feelings, then you understand why you procrastinate, and you can change something. And sometimes it's not about pushing yourself. I don't believe in like self-discipline or willpower that much, because if you are pushing, if you are using willpower, sometimes you are pushing yourself even in activities that you shouldn't do.
Absolutely.
It's better to like quit the thing and focus on things that you enjoy doing rather than to push. And as we described, sometimes there's burnout waiting for you somewhere in the future.
And I think it's the same. This is the same idea of working smarter rather than harder. Because I used to work crazy hours, like 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And I enjoyed it. So it wasn't a negative thing as such. But I realized that if I work smarter, I can work 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, but then have the other hours to be going to the gym or going out with friends or having a more balanced life. And I'm certainly more happier now. And now, because I have a shorter work day, I'm far more focused and I'm working more productively, and I'm just more focused, so I don't need to be working super long hours. I
have one tool that I deployed in my life like 5 years ago, and it's one of the best tools. And I just set the long-term vacation on Mondays and Fridays. So basically, I only work 3 days, like Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Monday and Friday is my vacation. And in my calendar, it's for a long term. So even my colleagues, they know that Mondays and Fridays I don't work, but I work. But I'm working on projects that I want to do.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I'm not using my to-do list those days. I'm just doing on projects that I just now want to focus on.
That's amazing.
And this is just the definition of intrinsic motivation, because if you have your to-do list, sometimes it becomes extrinsic motivation, because you know that you promised something to someone else. But if you have a freedom and if you have a free day in front of you, you then are able to do things that you truly are passionate about. And I feel the difference between Mondays and Tuesdays. There's a huge difference in my mood and my positivity.
Okay. Because I do a similar thing, not as extreme as that, but I do a similar thing where I used to work 7 days a week, and it was fine because I loved it. Like, there's no difference for me between work.
Try free, it works too.
Like, for me, there's no difference between work and like hanging out with friends. Like, I love both. And so, like, these days, I work 5 days a week, and then Saturday and Sunday, I still work, but on things that I want to do, and I don't do anything that I don't want to do. So it's more creative tasks, it's more just enjoying.
That's the same, but you can expand it even for 3 days and 4 days.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Maybe for the whole life. That's the highest achievement, to expand this like for forever. But sometimes I feel that I'm not that productive as I was like 10 years ago, but I'm much smarter in delivering results. So I need shorter time and like gain much more impact.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I think we go through stages in our lives where, like, for example, from 20 to 20, or 21 to about 26, 27, I was just like super focused, super like working every day, all day. And now I'm a lot more smarter, maybe a bit more wise.
Yeah.
And just
sometimes
working
a little
more
bit lazier, but laziness, it's not procrastination.
Exactly.
I love laziness. Laziness means that you just walk around, you are in present moment, you don't rush, for example.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I have to be somewhere, I just go slowly because I don't like to be in rush. Because if you are rushing, your stress hormone cortisol goes up, you are stressed. So sometimes I just try to walk like 50% slower.
Okay.
And if you do that for 2 minutes, you are completely relaxed.
Okay.
So this is like I love laziness.
Yeah.
And it's not procrastination.
Yeah.
Because procrastination is that you know what to do and you are unable to start. If you are lazy, you are just happy doing nothing.
Yeah, it's also about priorities as well. So like, I think it's so important to have a balanced life. So like the 4 pillars for me are health, wealth, people, and happiness. And, you know, in the first half of my 20s, I was just all out in the wealth pillar, right? And now I'm far more balanced. Like I'm going boxing, I'm going swimming a lot. I love taking weekend breaks away.
Right. Okay.
And these are things I wouldn't necessarily be doing as much, like just a few years ago.
According to your experience, what is the ultimate key for long-term life satisfaction?
I think enjoying what you do, like as we've discussed, and I think also having lowish expectations of the people around you.
Yeah.
And just because at the end of the day, if you're unhappy with something, it's because your expectations didn't meet reality. And so like, I'm super relaxed, I'm super chill. If something doesn't happen, okay, cool. I wouldn't make a big deal of it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, life is...
If it works, it works. If not,
exactly.
it works too.
Yeah, life is too short to be worrying about things that don't really matter.
So, and Mike, like, what are your values? Like, what are your virtues that you want to focus on in your growth? And
the single biggest value, integrity. Right?
Integrity.
I feel like Warren Buffett, he mentioned something amazing a few years ago. He was like, someone asked him, what do you look for when it comes to looking for a business partner? Like, how do you know whether a business partner is going to be a good business partner or not? He goes, there's 3 things. There's energy, intelligence, and integrity. And without integrity, the other 2 don't even matter. Yeah. So like those 3 things are really important to me. In terms of working with people, I think your energy, having a positive energy and being a person that people want to be around is so important. Intelligence in terms of being really good at what you do. So like we talk a little bit about networking and how powerful that can be, but it's like the more you build yourself up, the more you can give value to other people, and then the more value you can also receive. It's reciprocal, right? Yeah. And integrity, just doing the right thing. I think that it's like integrity is something that we just don't talk about enough in society. Definitely agree, because I was living in the US 2 years in New York City, and I think that people are much more oriented on results and absolutely
best universities, working in big corporations, climbing on the corporate ladder. And sometimes corporate environment is about like who has the most powerful way how to overcome others, how to be selfish, how to grow faster than others. But in my point of view, like, what's the sense? Like, I noticed. I just come back from Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago. Noticed exactly the same thing. Like, it's a very competitive place, and I noticed the same thing. So, like, maybe what's your experience? The difference between West and East? Like, you have the experience living in UK, and now you live in Saigon. So, what is the main difference between those 2 cultures?
There's a few things. So, one of the big things is here in Asia, it's not about what you know; it's about who you know. Right. Same in the UK, same in the West, but times 100 here in Asia. Like, you've really got to know the right people. That's the first thing. The second thing is they're a lot more laid back here, right? So in London or in the US, meetings and coffee meetings, and they're very, very fast paced. Okay, we've got 15 minutes. Let's talk about it. Whereas here it's more
transactional sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think actually Singapore is similar. Like the networking or the relationship building is very transactional. Okay, what can you give to me? What can I give to you? Whereas in other parts of
if nothing go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'll never hear that person again.
I experienced it many times in New York City. I was talking to someone and he just left in the middle of my sentence. And then I recognized that that's the way how to be productive.
Yeah. But at the cost, like there's a massive cost.
Now I understand that, but I prefer to sit and chill and have longer. That's why my format, my Deep Talks podcast is a long format, because I love to talk to people more in detail, to know them, and you cannot find a connection in 15 minutes. Yeah,
and again, it's about values, right? So there's nothing necessarily wrong with a very transactional, very high pace, because in certain industries, particularly the VC
finance
space, exactly. I mean, you see it all the time, and it's almost cultural, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But it really depends on what you like. And here in Southeast Asia, it's a lot more laid back. Go for coffee. You can have talks for 1, 2, 3 hours. It's totally fine. Whereas in the US, particularly in the UK, particularly in the bigger cities, it's very, very fast paced, very transactional.
And are you happier here?
I love it
compared to London?
I absolutely love it here. Yeah. I'm trying not to be here for too long. So I think 8 months of the year here is perfect, just because I've got to be networking, collaborating with other kind of authors, with other YouTubers over in the US and the UK. But if I could choose a country to live 12 months of the year, it would be here, right here. I absolutely love it.
And my last question is about purpose. So according to your unique experience, what do you think is a purpose of life? And what is your purpose nowadays?
I think find something that you're really passionate about, that you really like, right? Find that one thing and then get really good at that one thing. That's the first component. The second component is finding people that you can help do that thing. And then there's a third component, which I think is quite important for scalability, is, and this is kind of optional, but very important at the same time. The third part is, how can you monetize that? Okay. Right? Because if you want to scale, then you need money in order to scale that.
Yeah. So because money is power.
Exactly. And the more money it brings in, the more people you can help.
Exactly. So for me, this is the reason why I want to collect money, to have more impact, not to buy a bigger car or bigger house, but to influence more people.
And I think there's been studies about this where, and I felt this myself, where you hit in terms of the amount of income that you make per month, there's a diminishing returns. Once you hit a certain level, anything after that, you don't really get much more happiness. So
I think I have the...
Oh, there you go. There's the diagram. Exactly.
In here. You mean this one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
I'm very fortunate that I've hit that level. And so it's money now is not the focus. Yeah. The money now is the focus now is the impact. And as we talked about, waking up in the morning and actually enjoying what you're doing.
Thank you so much for sharing those ideas, because I think that this was truly profound. And I'm looking forward to see you soon, because we have similar missions, and I hope that we can somehow cooperate even more, because we have the same mission to help as many people as possible to have better lives.
And now that you're in Southeast Asia a lot more, and you're in Singapore, and I'm sometimes in Singapore, and you're sometimes in Vietnam.
It's 1 hour half flight, right? So
yeah, it's super quick. Just hop across.
Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. And with you guys, see you with the next episode, and take care and focus on path rather than the destination.